Evening, ladies and gents. Gather your bits and bobs, grab a hot toddy. We're going to talk about a really historic car today. Before that, I want to just give props to Twice Diecast. He's in my subscriptions, and he does this news feed every now and then. And then after reviews a diecast model or 1/64 scale vehicle. And this is one of the things he talked about in the news. I knew nothing about it. And maybe a year ago, I was hoping Greenlight would go and make these cars, and this is the first of what I wanted. This 1964 Morris Mini Cooper you're looking at in this packaging is the first one that won the Monte Carlo race. This gentleman here, Paddy Hopkirk, didn't realize at the time, but he changed the future of BMW, of all things, because BMW bought the Mini name. But that Mini name at this time belonged to the British Motor Corporation, BMC. So they had these listed as Morris's and also the Austin Minis. And then also in Italy, they had something called the Mini Innocenti. In other countries, other named vehicles, I'm sure, but I forget what they were. Let's get into this. I didn't really look at the back because they never have pictures. It's kind of silly, right? Sure, it's nice to have a Volkswagen Rabbit Mark 1, but if it looks like a putrid green, would I want to buy it? Probably not, right? You gotta have pictures of the things you're trying to sell. Anyways, I actually do keep these. The little bit I just cut off at least. So this registration is 33 EJB, and in 1964, this thing pulled up with a modified larger engine than previous rally efforts. So the capacity was 1,071 cc's, a little over 1 liter. It was making around 90 horsepower, which doesn't sound like much, but these are very small and light cars. If you look at these heads in here, they almost look like clowns inside of this thing. I used to have a classic Mini, and I sat in the back once when I let my friends drive it. And it did look ridiculous seeing two grown men inside something so small. But this car, because it is so small and so light, it did handle like a go-kart. It was really cool. It's an attainable vehicle by anyone. You know, these things aren't expensive. I would recommend, if you don't live in an area that has a lot of rust, like snow or salted roads, you pick one of these things up for real. They're so fun to drive, and they're so small. You can park them anywhere and scoot through gaps that normal sized cars can't go. But yes, rust is an issue. Mine, the floorboards are all rusted and all that stuff. And then I replaced a lot of parts within 3 years. They rusted. Anyways, let's move on. Greenlight, as usual, has pretty good wheels. These wheels, even I think, have a little. No, are they blanked off? I think there's a little air passing through. You can see a little bit of light every now and then. It's not much though. Yeah, there is air. So at least it's better than TLV with their blanked off wheels in most cases. Now this does have knobby truck-like tires, which usually I wouldn't like, but if this is a rally car running around the snow, I suppose these are appropriate tires. So yeah, I guess that's fine. The number 37 plate here on the side looks pretty good. It's got a raised door handle, and also this is the body style that has exposed door hinges. It also has the sliding windows like the real photograph. Later on, more modern ones have wind outs and internal hinges. Going to the front, the light array is relatively close. It's not identical though. This light array I've seen before, I think was molded after the Italian Job movie. So these two lights should be lower, as you see in the photographs compared to. Still, pretty close. It is a little weird, there's a black dot in the middle of this one. Why that one? Is that a mistake? It just makes no sense, it's strange. The bumper here, they filled in the gap here. There are these tiny little bars that are here. Again, you might want to go back to the photo comparison. Blank license plate there. There is none on the real one. Again, I think this is from a previous mold. And the mustache grill is not really visible. So they're kind of compensating or trying to use the same mold to do different styles of minis. Okay, so that's not 100% accurate. What is going on here? There's a lot of like black printed on this, but it's not even in a shape that makes sense. It almost looks like a city, like a tower and buildings here. So I don't know what went on there. It should just be a black bar going across the whole front end, and then the numbers printed on it. So I don't know if that's, it's a mystery. Very strange. Okay, but the banner here, if I could focus on it, the Rally Monte Carlo Rally in 1964. Yeah, boy, sorry. I guess it was the 37th running. There we go. So that's all legible. And then the wiper blades here, there's some silver paint. And, well, I can't really say they're blades. I can't tell through my phone screen. I can't even tell now with my own eyes. They just have indication of the chrome stocks, but they I don't know if they're really there. There's black printing here on the, I don't know if that's, I think that's probably on the casting, the black. Okay, the white roof. A little blemish there. Oh well. Seems to be some silver for the chrome trim around the windows. And then we have some Castrol, and I think that might be the BMC logo. I forget. Okay, the gas cap here. Yeah, so I bought one of these gas caps, brand new. It was die-cast metal, chrome plated, and it pitted within like 3 years of being in a garage in California. Alright, Morris Cooper there. And then, well, boy, I'm having a hard time focusing on these scripts. There we go. So it seems quite legible. That's a little crooked. GB, that looks alright. And this has the classic taillights. They look kind of like a teardrop. More modern ones, they have rectangular taillights. Some sort of silver for the trunk, or maybe that's the trunk handle. I forget which way it goes. Little bumperettes, and they filled in that gap there. Tiny little exhaust pipe, I think it's part of the metal base. Some black printing up here. And, well, the interior, it's just black. I'm guessing the real race car probably had a black interior. But we got the central speedometer. Unfortunately, there's no needle molded in there. Would have been cool to have that. And then the steering wheel looks pretty decent, better than Hot Wheels. Nice molded ribs on the seat. And I think there's actually, yeah, the transmission down there. Are there two stocks? What's going on there? No, maybe that's just some dust in there. Door panels, they're pretty plain. These are very inexpensive cars, you know. This is kind of like the Volkswagen Beetle of England. So it was really meant to just be a way for 4 full-size adults to get around. And yes, you could actually fit adults back here. Like I said, I've sat in there. You definitely probably wouldn't want to be in a car accident in one of these things. Alright, going to the bottom, this thing actually has a metal base. And sadly, Greenlights are almost all the time press fit together. There's a tab in the back there, but just one rivet there. And then it's nice that Greenlight has all the information you want as a collector. So without the original packaging, you still know what year and what car this is. And then you have a general idea, maybe when the casting was made. And then you know who made it. And then that's just everyone, right, knows that almost everything's made in China. So there's the transmission. It's actually bolted to the engine. The engine is bolted to the transmission, so that leaks on real cars all the time. Muffler exhaust seems realistic. Mine fell off one day. So partially, all these little real problems on real cars from England may have been the demise of that whole industry in England. Although England does make fine F1 cars and McLaren's regular street-going vehicles. Alright, it's time to compare it to some other stuff. Okay, let's bring out those other Greenlights. So the very first Greenlight one I got is that the blue one from the Italian Job, the original Italian Job movie, not the one with Mark Wahlberg. The real one is a good movie. It's Michael Caine, and they drive these 3 minis into the back of a Harrington bus. And so this license plate must match the one from the movie. It's basically the same casting, it looks like. You know, all the same bits. Even the tires, I think, are the same. Yeah. And now I'm realizing that it's a metal base, yeah. So, it's going to look the same, just different livery. Later on, I bought this road racing one because minis weren't only rally race; they were road race successfully as well. And so it looks like the same casting, just doesn't have the lights on the front, so you can actually see the front end. I like that they taped off the headlights here with that graphic, so it doesn't look as bad not having clear lenses. And they taped off the taillights, so pretty neat. I wonder if it says a 64 also. This one says it's a 67. Interesting. So this body style must have ranged between 64 and 67. After that, they may have gone to internal door hinges and the squarish taillights. I forget. I can't really fit this on there, but I built this model kit. This is a fine work resin model kit, and I have a video on the build of this thing. It was a real pain, but as I told you, I love this car because I used to have one. And the number 177, I believe, won the rally in 1967. They won 4 years in a row. 64 was the first, then 65, 66, and 67. They were disqualified in 1966 for having the wrong filaments in the light bulbs, which I think is kind of BS. But I think the note is this thing only had 90 horsepower and a 1-liter engine, pretty much. But it was going up against V8s, like the Mercedes 300 SL and the, I think the Ford Falcon. I had to look that up. So those things had like 3 to 4 times as much power. But running around the snow, they, a rear-wheel drive with that much power in the snow is a recipe for disaster. These were front-wheel drive. I also have this really large scale. I forget, maybe it's 155 scale. It's made by Tiny. There you go. And yeah, it's a Mark 1, and again, it's for the 1967 race. And it's got these opening features if that's your thing. It's not really my thing, but at least they colored the engine block. I like the wheels on the top, although they're not the same as the... I don't know, maybe the tires are the same. This does not open, or does it? I don't think it does. But anyways, you got the interior details of that. And suspension. It's relatively inexpensive, I think, this thing. I forget what I paid for it, but I'm guessing it was under $15. But it's quite large, right? Not remotely 164. It's more like Choro-Q size. So, alright, well, I don't get to bring out the snow coaster all too often, but today's the day to do it. Yeah, great cars. Really great cars, these original minis, and that's why BMW bought the brand and milked it very successfully. Although modern minis actually aren't really small cars anymore. The Mini Countryman is actually a very large car, I think. I guess it depends what country you live in, but they're definitely not as small as the originals. Safety and comfort, all that stuff adds on bulk. Thank you for watching, everyone, and whenever Greenlight puts out 1965, 1966, and 1967, you're going to have to update this mold, though. You got to go to the 4 headlights in front, because that's just the way it is. If you're going to bother doing that, maybe do the mustache grill properly. No, it's not really a mustache grill. But you have at least one customer. Hopefully there'll be more. Alright, thanks everyone. Cheers.